Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name is Connor, and today we're going to be breaking down the hysterical and fun Furry Crusades. This is of course a comedy inspired by the Warhammer universe, which Games Workshop has looked down on. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you want to take your support a bit further, become a YouTube member or support us on patreon.com/counterpoints. This episode is brought to you by Mastermind Models and Miniatures. They are a phenomenal paint studio out of Huntsville, Alabama, who are waiting for your commission idea. You know darn well that you're just going to spend another fortune on plastic gray kits that are just going to sit there in your pile of shame, and it will take years to get them on the battlefield. Instead of procrastinating, let Mastermind Models and Miniatures bring your imagination to life. Go to the link down in the description below and tell them that we sent you.
I think I love you, Bubblegum.
Oh, Dark Wolf. You, me, right here in Furry Forest. This is everything. They fell right into our big gay trap. Now, guys!
Oh, hey!
Their numbers know no end, brother! Brother? Avenge me, brother! Brother, avenge me! No mercy.
My apologies to the furry community in advance, but in order to break this down, I have to be frank. 20 to 30 years ago, it was common to make fun of effeminate gay folk, trans people, racial minorities, and ethnic immigrants with strange accents. As American culture has evolved over the past few decades, most people have come to realize that it's not cool to make fun of people for things they can't control unless they're in on the joke and can banter back. As a result, the window for who you can publicly pick on has narrowed. I'm not well versed in the cultural norms of the furry community, but I have an outside perspective that has been confirmed by several furries. Anthropomorphic characters are a mainstay of children's cartoons and can set the tone for people's romantic expectations as they enter adulthood. Socially awkward, autistic, nerdy, or otherwise outcast people can make some initial attempts at romantic liaisons in their teenage years, only to be ignored, rejected, bullied, or otherwise maligned. These people can continue to abuse themselves in the realm of the real, or they can escape into the fantasy world of the furry. Exploring sexuality through anthropomorphic cartoon characters with other similarly interested people can be a freeing way in which to get to know themselves and their interests without the fear of exterior judgment. While this can start as bullied nerds on a journey of self-discovery, it can become very degenerate very quickly. What comes with a lack of judgment and a lack of bullying, social regulation, or the need to mature is embracing all the opposites of pro-social behavior. This means that some furries will spend days on internet forums and voice chats, talking about their identity and fantasies, dragging them deeper into the culture. If they are poor, they might just commission a few drawings of their persona and hang out with other furries. If they have leveraged their nerdiness into an information technology job and are making tons of money, then they might commission a fursuit, allowing them to bring their sexually stunted persona into reality. They will then travel to conventions where they hang out with other furries, and the particularly degenerate ones will participate in extreme sex acts. In my opinion, being a furry means being a social outcast that is trying to escape into a comforting fantasy land that then gets convoluted by sex and the internet. This is a choice. It is a choice to embrace anthropomorphic cartoons. It is a choice to graphically sexualize those cartoons. It is a choice to make that a cornerstone of your personality, and it is a choice to continue that social and sexual retardation into adulthood. Therefore, furries are the perfect target for criticism and ridicule. In some ways, Warhammer 40k is the opposite of the furry fandom. Instead of emotionally and sexually stunting and embracing anthropomorphic sex, Warhammer 40k nerds are emotionally stunted and embrace hypermasculinity and violence, which in my opinion is very cool. Space Marines are written as adolescent male power fantasies where the only people who become Space Marines are teenagers. Loyalist Space Marines are depicted as asexual and who pursue high-minded but also ultra-violent virtues. Warhammer 40k may have elements of satire and cultural critique of authoritarianism and hypermasculinity, but easily since the thousands, Space Marines are depicted as flawed heroes. They might slaughter civilians, virus bomb planets, and cause galactic calamities, but they are often men trapped in impossible situations who use strength, willpower, honor, spiritual purity, and persistence to fight demons and monstrous aliens. Left-wing authors and progressives might use quote-unquote media literacy as a way to criticize people who embrace the example of Space Marines. But the truth is, many boys love and embrace Imperial heroes as just that. Flawed, but valiant heroes. The Black Templars are the pinnacle of this ultra-violent male fantasy and are the most zealous and least tolerant of the Space Marine chapters, making them the perfect Marines to conduct this crusade. I promise to break down some of their lore after the next segment.
Hey, Tails. Wanna go mess with Dr. Eggman?
Sure!
Run, Sonic! Run!
Oh, shit! Tails, run! Holy shit! Holy shit!
Sonic! The cows! I'll go get help! Oh, God.
Tails!
Sonic! What's going on?
Mutant. Brother?
Jack!
Quickly, Sonic! We gotta go! They're killing all the furries! We're the resistance!
I'm not a furry!
Oh, please, honey.
Time to go!
You brutes!
The blue furry escaped, brother. It matters not. There's not enough distance or loop-de-loops in the galaxy to outrun the glory of our crusade.
Y'all never get us all! We fuck like rabbits!
We will spade and we will neuter until there is nothing left.
It's funny that I got busy with the holiday and just went to the movies with my older boy to see Sonic 3, and I have to say, I am severely culture war poisoned. I had a great time, the movie was fun and funny, but as soon as I saw this Flash get Sonic bit, I realized that I don't want my sons to play Nintendo into their teenage years or to be too into anthropomorphic cartoons or anime because I don't want them to fall into the furry cultural trap. I would genuinely prefer them to fall into Call of Duty, Halo, or best of all, Warhammer as traps, because I think these are decent expressions of male nerddom that don't devolve into sexual degeneracy and retardation. I might let my kids watch Avatar: The Last Airbender, Dragon Ball Z, and Gundam, but I would be lying if I didn't say that anime is uncomfortably close to other degenerate behaviors. But since this is a breakdown, let's give the Black Templars some love, an emotion they are too autistic to understand. The Black Templars are descended from the Imperial Fist Legion and best represent their Primarch's wrath. Rogel Dorn was found on the icy death world of Inuit, and similar to many of his brothers, had united the planet's clans and spread his ambitions to the stars. Rogel had revived much of the lost technology of the planet, allowing him to leave its surface and revive a massive space fortress known as the Phalanx. When the Emperor found him, Rogel gifted the fortress to his father, only for it to be returned and made the base of operations for his legion. The Imperial Fists were a loyal, stalwart, and comparatively pragmatic legion, and often served with the Emperor directly, serving as his advance guard, the next perimeter of warriors after the Custodes. This vaunted position earned the Imperial Fist the jealousy and ire of the Iron Warriors. The Primarchs Rogel Dorn and Perturabo fought in a bristling competition over who was the greater master of siege and defense. When the Emperor quit the Great Crusade, Rogel Dorn returned with him to Terra to protect his gene father as he toiled on the Human Webway project. During the Horus Heresy, Rogel Dorn's temperament and proximity to the Emperor meant that there was little attempt to turn him from the Imperium. Primarch Alfarius tried and got decapitated as a result, and Khorne tried to trap Rogel Dorn in a spiritual prison outside of time to corrupt him, only for Rogel Dorn to bore him to death by reciting logistics and military plans for eternity. Khorne became so frustrated with Rogel Dorn, he actually released him back into the battle, as that was more entertaining than listening to him ramble about battle plans for eternity. When the Emperor fell, it was Rogel who carried him back to the Golden Throne. During the Siege of Terra, Sigismund, one of the Imperial Fist's greatest swordsmen, challenged and dueled champions of the traitor forces. Sigismund survived the Siege of Terra and the Iron Cage, and was chosen to be the first chapter master of the Black Templars. Rogel Dorn had first resisted breaking up his legion into 1,000 Marine chapters, but ultimately relented. Chapter Master Sigismund, embodying his Primarch's stubbornness, saw that a chapter could recruit more than 1,000 Marines if they were on crusade. Sigismund declared an eternal crusade, vowing that the Black Templars would not rest until all of the Imperium's foes were defeated. As a result, the chapter's true numbers are not known. Even 10,000 years later, the Black Templars' zealotry and skills in close combat are legendary. The chapter hates the mutant, the heretic, and the alien, and detests psychers. They do not keep a librarius, and only have their righteous hatred as protection against the warp. They do have access to the full armory available to Space Marines, but they believe it honorable to charge into the maw of the enemy and best him in melee combat. This is contrasted to the more pragmatic warfare of the Ultramarines, Raptors, or even their parent chapter, the Imperial Fists. While they slaughter most of the inhabitants of Green Hills with fist, bolter, and blade, they do take out some of their targets with notable Space Marine weapons. The Thunderhawk Transport, the Heavy Bolter, the Jump Packs, and the Whirlwind Missile Launcher being the most notable. Sonic denies that he's a furry, but if you Google Amy or Rouge, then you'll see quickly why the Black Templars wanted to cut off this source of corruption.
Now do my ass.
Listen to me, Abomination. Your death will be quick if you reveal the source of your corruption.
You're too late. Our spread has already begun. The planet will fall, just like every other before it.
I understand. You were human once. But you were once called
Don't you say that name! Don't you say it!
Stephen.
I'm Strong Fang now! First in my name! My power knows no bounds! I can even almost blow myself! Watch!
Your powers are greatly diminished. Did you really think we wouldn't find your magical artifacts during sedition? It's getting pretty close. Brother, wait! You're caught in a spark field! It was draining you of your energy, brother! This cannot be where it all started. Anyone would admit she's pretty hot. It's a totally normal reaction. That doesn't make me a furry.
Lola was the beginning, but she's not the source. She merely awakened what already lurked in the depths of our humanity. You want our existence to have an easy answer, something you can point to and stop. But there is no stopping us. So long as there are outcasts with no dad to play catch with, or lonely homeschooled boys with internet connections, or Asians, our seeds will find fertile soil. How can you stop an idea?
You underestimate the amount of rope we have. 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 You underes
Avenge the fallen by buying our t-shirt.
Space Marines are most known for being fear incarnate and dealing death to the enemies of the Imperium, but that doesn't mean they're above some enhanced interrogation. As a part of aspirant training, Space Marines will undergo various forms of physical, mental, and emotional torture, but that pales in comparison to the kinds of hells prepared for enemies of the Imperium. Rebellious dregs of society may be lobotomized and turned into servitors, half-dead machines performing menial tasks. Socially intelligent aliens like the Tau may be tortured for information and flayed alive before meeting their death. Renegade Space Marines like the Fallen will be tortured by skilled interrogators like High Chaplain Asmodai, who will only grant death once secrets are revealed and the Renegade repents for their sins. Chaos Space Marines will have their dark faith turned against them, as shown in the Eternal episode of Hammer and Bolter, in which an Emperor's Children Marine who exists only to crave pleasure and pain is held in a sensory deprivation coffin. Even demons can be tortured, as shown in the Eisenhorn book series, where Cherubiel, a demon host, is enslaved and forced to serve the Imperium. All these dark deeds are committed in the faith that they help battle a deeper evil, in this case, that of the Furry.
Stop oogling me, Furry.
You can still get out of this. You can still repent.
Bring me your champion.
Are you sure? He does have a way of making people change their minds.
Do you think I fear death?
Let's get you out of that stuffy armor and find out. Last chance! It's time to repent for your sins, Templar. When you called us anal moles, petophiles, and furgets, that was very hurtful. Now say you're sorry. Say you're sorry, and Star Sparkle won't have to fuck you to death.
You forgot. Fur retards.
Just because the Adeptus Astartes are the apex predators of material reality does not mean that they can't be killed or even captured. While it is strange to think about a Marine surrendering to enemy forces and allowing himself to be kept in any state of captivity, it has happened through disabling a Marine's armor, poisoning the Marine, and keeping them in a drug-induced or psychic stasis until unleashed. Drukhari, or Dark Eldar, are famous both for their mastery of poison and for hosting blood games in the Dark City of Kamara. Their Space Marines are prized, if impossible to tame gladiators, but serve as bloody spectacles for witches to drug, battle, and carve up. There are Colosseums of the Dark Gods in the Warp as well, with specific lore to Angron being relevant. A Slaneshi demon claimed to be the best duelist of the Dark Gods and killed many opponents on a demon world in the Warp. Angron, hearing of these boasts, went to that Colosseum and challenged. Angron not only beat that demon, but beat him with an iron bar so hard he forged the demon into a blade that he now carries into battle. No glory waits for a captive of the Furry Colosseum, but he at least is able to trade insults with his captors before falling to Star Sparkle.
This planet was called Pulchra once. It is no longer that. A strange corruption that we would later know as the Lupus Mortem had spread across its surface like a disease. Myself and 9 other battle brothers were tasked with investigating to see if the world could be saved. 5 of us were dropped into a thicket of dense lilac-long grass to investigate areas of interest. The other 5 were taken to a safer landing zone, 40 miles south, to a clearing in the jungle. We lost contact immediately. Brother Brevecto was the first to be taken. The pitiless creature bounded upon him, piercing his armor with its mandibles and leaping away. We heard him die on our comms. But with our auspex jammed, we had no choice but to press on. Brother Vidbeck also fell in that matted forest. It was then that we came upon the most striking landmark of the planet. A singular mountain that pierced the sky, red and angry. Just beyond this rocky terrain laid our destination, and hopefully our brethren. I gave the order to ascend, thinking it prudent to avoid more of the jungle parasites, and to gain a greater vantage of our surroundings. It was only when we were halfway up that the seismic activity of the mountain became apparent. This surprised us, as the orbital scans had shown no active tectonic plates or magma chamber in this region. The first pyroclastic flow took right over. He was granted the Emperor's peace. And peace it was. For what we saw once we reached the summit will stay with me forever. What was it? We thought we had been observing the planet. The planet was observing us. We descended down the mountain with all the haste our gene-forged bodies were for us, until we came upon the landing zone, where we found our brethren locked in combat with worm-like creatures. The ground pulsated beneath them, threatening to swallow our ship. 4 battle brothers died to allow us to escape with the information I present before you. Brother Castum, Brother Veloxar, Brother Bea, and Brother Ivermectin. Their names will be entered into the litanies of remembrance. Am I to understand we must leave Pulchra to die? No, brother. We must help it die. Reality has fled Pulchra. Insanity bubbles at its core. Tides of madness spring forth, twisting and breaking the landscape into shapes that cause the human mind to pebble and bray. Pulchra has broken from reality, and now, too, it must pass from it.
Avenge the fallen and buy this t-shirt. I swear it's very important.
What's interesting about this next section is its allusion to a couple of things. First is planetary infection either by Tyranids or the Warp, and second is the planet of murder in the Horus Heresy series. Tyranids are a hive mind species that bombard a planet with spores filled with combat life forms who cut down any sentient life they encounter. Flora and fauna are converted into more combat forms until the planet is subdued. Once subdued, giant acid pits are created that all biomass and minerals are flung into. This biological and mineral slurry is then pumped up into the hive fleet via tendrils. Tyranids learn from the planets they consume, adapting any trait or knowledge from their opponents that could be useful in future conquests. Tyranid hive fleets then continue this process until they've stripped a galaxy clean, ready to move on to their next food source. Unfortunately, in the 42nd millennium, the Tyranids are focused on the Milky Way galaxy. Warp incursions can also be similar to Tyranid infections, in which reality is rewritten to suit the extra material beings of the warp. Gravitational anomalies, physical mutations, demonic possession, and insanity are common on planets in which the warp has broken through. The Furry infection seems to mimic aspects of both the Tyranid and warp incursions. The planet of murder was a planetary game preserve found during the Great Crusade. A human-alien alliance known as the Interrex went to war with and ultimately vanquished a species known as the Arachnids. Rather than exterminate the species, the Interrex secluded them to a single planet and limited their capacity for intersolar travel. Blood Angels, Emperor's Children, and Luna Wolves made planetfall on murder, but were broken up by atmospheric storms. Squads were then hunted and slaughtered by the Arachnids, who were lightning-fast and vicious opponents. The Space Marines discovered large trees on which victims were impaled and where flying versions of the Arachnids were feasting. Destroying the trees in vengeance, this disrupted the storms, allowing the Marines to gain a foothold on the planet and begin a purge. This purge was then interrupted by the Interrex, who revealed the nature of the planet and began diplomatic communications with the Imperium. The Arachnids and Interrex were ultimately slaughtered as they were foul alien opponents too strange to be incorporated into the Imperium. Sometimes, exterminatus is the only way. Big shout out to the Flash Kids team who stopped by and checked out my breakdown of Space King 1 and 2. I love their work, and you should too. They have a big old merch store with tons of cool goodies, so go show them some love. But if you want to support this channel for free, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for new videos, and comment for the common gods. Your viewership alone helps me in the algorithm and is appreciated. If you want to take your support a bit further, please become a YouTube member or join us on patreon.com/counterpoints. Check out the other videos on the channel, support our sponsors, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until the end.